Good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday. Don't forget, this is basically the last trading day of the week because the market's not open tomorrow. We have some crazy news, as all of you guys probably already know, with Twitter and Elon Musk. The stock is booming to the upside this morning, Tom. I'll say, I woke up this morning and, I saw your message in discussion chat, and I was like, what do you mean Elon's trying to buy Twitter? And then I went on CNBC and I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, crazy news.
Yeah, it's crazy. Nobody would have ever expected to wake up to this morning. I mean, some people could have maybe guessed that he would do this since that board announcement earlier this week, but man, that's just insane to see that he's actually made an offer to buy Twitter for $43 billion right now. So this is going to be huge. Obviously Twitter, I wonder what they're going to think about this. I will say Twitter's CEO did have a thing on CNBC where they said that he warned of distractions days before Musk offered to buy the company. So I know that Twitter's been having a lot of news lately, Mike. And I remember even I saw an article that said that right now, Twitter's workplace is becoming kind of toxic and stuff like that. So I don't know. I guess a lot of people were kind of anticipating this. But either way, it's crazy. It's up 5%. And man, I wish it would have opened up above $50. That would have been awesome.
Tom, can you do me a favor and pull up the CNBC article with the Twitter stuff? Because I want to read the full letter Elon wrote to the board. It's all the way at the bottom. So let's see. Yeah, it's literally the last thing. Let's see, yeah, perfect.
So he said right here, he said, I invested in Twitter as I believe in its potential to be the platform for free speech around the globe, and I believe free speech is a societal imperative for a functioning democracy. However, since making my investment, I now realize the company will neither thrive nor serve this social imperative in its current form. Twitter needs to be transformed as a private company. As a result, I am offering to buy 100% of Twitter for $54.20 per share in cash, a 54% premium over the day before I began investing in Twitter, and a 38% premium over the day before my investment was publicly announced. My offer is my best and final offer, and if it is not accepted, I would need to reconsider my position as a shareholder. Twitter has extraordinary potential. I will unlock it. Elon Musk. So that's a pretty big statement right there.
Yeah, so I was doing a little bit of research this morning and hearing a bunch of different people's point of views on this. And what is pretty interesting is check out that last, I don't know, maybe that third to last sentence. It says, my offer is my best and final offer, and if it is not accepted, I would need to reconsider my position as a shareholder. And different people had different, I guess you can say, understandings of what he means by that. Initially, you might think, all right, if they don't accept his offer, he might sell his shares and forget about it, right? But other people speculated that he might say, you know what, I would need to reconsider my position as a shareholder, and he might do some sort of hostile takeover where he just tries to buy the shares he needs on the open market to make changes like that. So I guess there's different interpretations of Elon Musk's statement, but either way, this news is crazy, and yeah, I mean, Twitter is about to just get very interesting, you know?
It really is, and I'm curious, what's going to happen here, because I would initially think, Mike, that Twitter might try to reject this. I mean, obviously, Twitter might try to keep the company themselves, of course. Obviously, the current CEO, I can't remember his name ever since Jack Dorsey stepped down, but I know that the current CEO, I know that he obviously will want to keep his position and want to keep the company how it is. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this. And man, I don't know, Mike, what are your thoughts on this? Because, I'm really curious to hear it, because I feel like that Elon would obviously maybe try to buy this himself, like you said, just buy the shares he needs. But in the end, I mean, it's going to be really tough to try to do a full-on hostile takeover here. So I'm curious, and I'm kind of wondering if Twitter's just going to bow down, because obviously Elon holds a lot of power, and if he sells out of Twitter, I wonder how big that crash would be.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be hard for Elon to really buy Twitter. And the reason I say this is because with a pretty high degree of certainty that the employees over at Twitter probably don't want Elon owning the company, because if they continue to do the things that they have done in the past, they are going to need a new job. You know what I mean? So I think that a lot of the employees at Twitter are, I don't want to say nervous to hear this news, but I think they're definitely a little bit on edge, because a lot of their jobs are probably at risk, because Elon, it's not like he's just trying to buy Twitter for the cash flow and as an investment. He's trying to change the whole platform.
Yeah, he really is. And, these employees are definitely getting upset, Mike, because, look at what the New York Post has been reporting. Twitter as a, it's kind of a bad word there, but, it's obviously not going well. A lot of these, I guess you could say, employees are upset. And, I know that, like they're saying here, it's definitely caused a pretty big, distraction at Twitter. I guess that's the best way to say it. That's how Twitter's CEO, Parag, said it. He pretty much said that this was going to be a big distraction. But, I can't believe, what's happening with this, Mike. Could you imagine saying this 3 months ago? People would have thought we were nuts for bringing this up. But, man, I just can't believe he's doing this. And, like you said, it's definitely going to cause a lot of issues between those employees and the obviously the board and just everything. So I just can't wait to see it, if Twitter accepts this or not. I have a feeling they won't, but we'll have to see what happens, because Elon Musk might be able to pressure them into accepting it, because who knows, he could always sell out, and who knows, if he sells out, I wonder how bad Twitter stock would crash, like I said.
Yeah. I mean, 10 or 9.2% or 9.1%, whatever it is, it's definitely a decent position. So it's very interesting.
I think a lot of retail traders would follow along.
Yeah, it's true. I really hope he does end up buying Twitter. I just think that more likely than not, it's not going to go through. Like I said, I really, really hope it does. I just kind of have a feeling that it's going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, I think it's going to get pretty heated probably. We're probably going to see a lot of arguments for both sides and different things like that. But, like you said, I hope it happens. He seems like he's trying to do good by it. Maybe he has other intentions, but if he's doing this for free speech and stuff, I think it's a pretty good idea. And, Twitter's a pretty good platform. Lots of people have used it. It's kind of it's been around for a while. It's not like Facebook or anything. It hasn't been around that long, but, it's definitely a big one out there. And who knows, Mike, maybe once this is done, we'll have another movie like The Social Network come out about Twitter, because this is a pretty big situation here.
Alrighty. So on another note, I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the birthday wishes. It means a lot, guys. So thank you so much for all of the birthday support. Tom, what are you seeing in the markets?
Yeah, so pretty much my watch list it's in the green, but it's not in the green by a ton. I will say the airlines are still going, Mike. Delta Airlines is moving up again. It's up 3%. It's breaking out above that $42 resistance of this morning in pre-market. So we're definitely breaking that in a nice way. I will say these banks were very mixed, Mike. So Goldman Sachs reported earnings, and they went well, of course. They're up 3%. I didn't read into it too well, but as we know, their trading division usually does pretty well. So I'm curious to see how their numbers look. But on the other side of the spectrum, Wells Fargo reported and started tanking off to the downside. We have Morgan Stanley also popping up. So, the banks are really mixed today. Some are down, some are up. Looks like JP Morgan's trying to climb itself back after yesterday's drop. So definitely mixed with these earnings, Mike. And I'm glad to see some of the banks up like Goldman, but poor Wells Fargo here.
Yeah, it's tough. Interesting. And then just like you already said, Tom, the airlines appear to be continuing, I know Delta kind of set the tone with their earnings report yesterday, and all of the travel and even hotel stocks started booming up. So they're definitely continuing up, which is pretty good to see. Some of the hotel stocks are moving up too. I don't know if you saw this in the popular news tab, Tom, but MGM had some pretty interesting news. It said MGM is testing NFT tickets at performances in Las Vegas. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder how that will work. That's definitely an interesting thing. And who knows? I know sometimes tickets can be worth some money, especially if something's announced, or if like for example, like maybe like I know this isn't the case for MGM, but like let's say a football player plays like their last game, for example. Sometimes those tickets are worth money. So who knows? I could see that playing out somehow where those tickets will end up being worth something. So definitely interesting, Mike. And the stock's up. It's breaking that high of yesterday. So who knows? Hopefully it keeps running intraday here. I'm glad it broke out above $40 though. That was pretty big.
Yeah. All right, let's see. So Jerry said TSM reported this morning, chips rising. So let's see. Yeah, I mean it was moving up in a pretty nice way to start off, and for some reason it looks like the sellers came back in and started selling it off. Tom, how are like AMD and Nvidia moving with it?
They weren't doing too bad in pre-market, but right now they're starting to sell off. Nvidia's green, which is good. I know, yep, they're up 0.6%. I've been seeing them up on my watch list all morning, but AMD has been lagging behind a little bit. It's definitely starting to turn over here a little bit harder at market open, kind of like TSM. TSM did great with earnings and, they popped up, but now they're all the way back below the closing price of yesterday. So they obviously gave all the gains back, and I'll have to read into the article because, it looks like maybe they reported good numbers, but I don't know why they're falling off. So we'll have to read into this one a little bit deeper, but yeah, I mean, these earnings are going crazy. The chip stocks are all over the place, and the QQQ is starting to fall back down again.
Interesting. And then how's like the Dow doing? So we have QQQ on the low ticker, we can say. The Dow is actually looking really good. So let's see. I just want to see like what is driving the Dow. Give me 1 second.
Maybe some of these airlines. I know Boeing, I think, is pretty big there. So that might be pretty big for them. Maybe something like some airlines. I know I see like McDonald's up in the green. Maybe some oil plays again.
Yeah, so it looks like Goldman Sachs, IBM, and like Nike are leading the way with the Dow so far today.
Ooh.
And basically all of the other holdings are just flat. So it's like Apple flat, Procter & Gamble flat, Visa flat, Caterpillar flat. So it looks like Goldman and IBM are definitely the top ones this morning.
Man, I can't believe IBM is moving this big, and I'm looking at the news here, and it looks like Morgan Stanley upgrades IBM to overweight and raises their price target up to 150. So that's pretty cool there to see Morgan Stanley upgrading IBM. I will say, Mike, like IBM has been one of those computer companies that's been moving pretty slow over the past few years. Like if we look on that Max Weekly chart, this is another one of those stocks that boomed in the early 2000s. Now it is still up above those levels, but I'm just saying like still it's been consolidating for the past like 4 to 5 years almost within this range here. So hopefully it starts moving up maybe above like 150 again. That would make for some good movement.
Yeah, true that. All right, I'm doing another scan really quickly to see some of the top plays today. Looks like, well, we kind of already talked about Caterpillar a little bit, but I see you're looking at X, Tom. What's going on with that one?
Yeah, they're kind of like Caterpillar. They deal with steel and they do a lot with construction and stuff, obviously. They themselves don't do construction, of course, but the steel is used in it. But you can see they're ripping today, up 4%. And, Mike, I know these commodities have been insane lately, and steel's been another one of them. You can see X on the daily chart here. It has just been parabolic. So hopefully it continues up with this nice uptrend. We might pop up and try to break $40. Not sure if we'll be able to get through there or not, but either way, the stock's definitely booming up today, Mike, and it's leading my watch list today up 4.5%. So definitely moving well with Twitter and Delta right behind it.
All right, there we go. How are these potash plays doing?
Ooh, IPI. Let's see. IPI not really doing too much today, but it's definitely holding up okay. Let's see Mosaic. Yeah, Mosaic looks a little bit better. It's starting to come back up a little bit. On the daily chart, though, these IPI stocks, or I should say the potash stocks, are still doing very well. Like Mosaic's up at the top, IPI is right around its high there. So, while they are starting to slow down, they're still up there around those highs, but they haven't really started selling off yet, Mike. Although I will say I'm kind of waiting for a pullback out of these, but who knows when that'll happen.
Yeah, true that. Let's see. Jerry said, I think the jobs report today is causing this downtrend in the market. I haven't really, I don't know. Honestly, I did not look into it. I feel like if it was causing a significant move, I feel like we'd hear about it a lot more. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even, Eh, I personally don't think so because when the report was released, the market was uptrending anyways. So I would say no, but what do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I don't think it's affecting the market too much today. And one thing, Mike, is that while we are seeing the SPY and the QQQ start to come down a little bit, we are seeing the Dow hold up very well. So I'm not sure that the jobs really affected it all that much. Like the Dow actually has some pretty good, or it had some good momentum around open. So that's good to see. And a lot of these like retail companies, I feel like are pretty big to watch, and most of them are doing pretty good again today, like Walmart, Target, stocks like that. So it looks like they're still holding up, which is good. So I don't think the job report had too much to do with the market today, especially with Twitter coming out, because Mike, I think this really overblew any headline this morning. And, especially just a jobs report like that. And it wasn't like we were seeing anything insane with jobs either. Obviously, some of the expectations, like the jobless claims, increased and were more than expected, but I don't think it was anything too drastic, or else we probably would have heard about it.
Yeah, I think the main reason the market is turning over right now is because some of the heavier weighted tech stocks are kind of falling off the board just a little bit. I'm looking at the heat map for the S&P right now, and we definitely have like Google, Microsoft, and maybe Facebook leading the way down. And then, of course, Wells Fargo is taking a pretty big hit right now too, which is also in the S&P 500. So I just think it's like some of those heavier weighted stocks, more specifically Microsoft and Google, that are kind of just like leading the downtrend.
Yeah, I could see that happening. It's definitely a big deal whenever you have these big tech stocks selling off. And man, I wonder how like Tesla's doing today with all the Twitter news. And even Tesla's down, Mike. They're down 2.2% here. Looks like they might start selling off even more if they break this pre-market low. So we'll have to see what happens. But you're right. These big tech stocks are probably what's dragging the market down. And man, it sucks to see Tesla down this much again. Like I feel like Tesla keeps trying to pop back above $1,000, Mike, but we're like right on that key psychological level right now. So we'll have to see how the price action moves. But as we've known, $1,000 is big with Tesla. So, it's definitely going to probably have some good movement sometime or another. And then, Mike, these metaverse plays continue to sell off too. Like poor Unity here is just getting rejected again. And, we have Matterport down 3%. Like, are these stocks ever going to go back on the uptrend? It seems like it's taken forever.
Yeah. On a different note with Tesla though, Tom, I'm actually not too surprised that Tesla is trading lower. And like, what was like the final like bid for Twitter? Was it like 50? Like what was the valuation? Let me see.
I think it was 43 billion. Let's see. It says that on this he offered to buy it for $54.20 per share, which was right around 43 billion.
All right, perfect. So I was looking at multiple different articles this morning, and of course Elon Musk's offer is an all cash offer. And even though Elon Musk is worth like over $200 billion, it's not like you just have $43 billion in cash just sitting around. A lot of that wealth is tied up in Tesla stock. So let's say this Twitter deal did go through, like he would have to get a decent amount of cash from somewhere. So he would probably sell off at least a little bit of his Tesla stock. Now, that is total speculation, but it's not only speculation from me, but it's from a couple other news articles too. So that is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes total sense because remember, he actually already sold some stock. I think they said he sold around, I just looked it up. They said he sold around $16 billion worth of stock. I remember he did this back like at the beginning of the year or like in December at some time. Remember, Mike, I think he even put out a poll on Twitter and he asked people, should I sell my Tesla stock? And everyone voted yes. So he did it. But, that makes a lot of sense, Mike, with him maybe having to sell some Tesla to buy that. Because you're right. Like if he does do this, it's a cash deal. So he's going to have to get that from somewhere. So I guess that is going to be a pretty big, I guess, I don't know what you'd call that, Mike, like a pretty big like event when it does happen. Because man, that's going to probably really accelerate this sell-off here below $1,000. And I hope Tesla doesn't come back down and retest 800 again. But if he starts selling, I wouldn't be surprised if it did.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is just a bunch of speculation. We don't even know if the Twitter deal's gonna go through, but it's just something to think about in the background.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be big because, like I said, like whenever Elon sold his shares last time, Tesla started really selling off. So keep that in mind because if he does do that, that'll be a pretty big deal. And Mike, with Tesla, we still have earnings coming up on April 20th. So in 6 days on 4/20, we're going to have Tesla earnings coming out. So that's going to be an interesting one. And I'll guarantee you, Mike, I wonder what the over-under is for something about Elon mentioning 420 on Twitter because I have a feeling he's going to say something.
And then even his Twitter offer was, of course, $54.20.
Was it really? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's something else, man. He always has something funny going on. But
God.
wow, of course he did that. I mean, I'm not too surprised, Mike, but I didn't think he'd do that with the offer to buy him.
Right? Yeah, because I was kind of expecting something, and then like I read the CNBC article, and I was like, oh, there it is.
That's so funny. Let's go see that.
Let's see.
Right there, $54.20. That is so funny. I can't believe he's doing that again. And man, he's such a cool CEO, Mike. I will say, I'm glad to have Elon around. He's a really cool guy, and he definitely provides some good entertainment and some good movement from the stock market. So I'm really glad that he's around, and he's just one of a kind. We'll never have another Elon again, I don't think. So hopefully he sticks around for a while.
Yeah, true that. Doing a couple different scans. I'm definitely seeing more downside movement today out of most industries. Really, the only industry that I'm seeing rising are like the airlines and the cruise lines. Basically, everything else is falling off the board. Certain stocks are holding up better than others. For example, we have Apple only down like 0.4%, which is a decent amount, but it's not too much. On the other hand, we have like some of these like China plays down a little bit more, like 3%. Even like AI is down 3%, stuff like that. So as you would expect, some of these companies with lower valuations are moving in a more volatile way.
Yeah, all these growth stocks again, unfortunately. Even these space stocks that have had a little bit of hype lately are selling off again, like Astra, SPCE, stocks like that. I remember yesterday some of these stocks were doing pretty well, but of course today they're selling right back over. Like I said earlier in the stream, Mike, the ones that I'm really waiting to go up are like stocks like Unity, Matterport, stocks like that deal in the metaverse, maybe Roblox. And it just seems like they just continue to stay lower here. And on the daily charts, they're still pretty close to these lows. So I still feel like they're at good buying opportunities. It's just that we're not seeing any good momentum back to the upside yet. And I just can't wait for some good news to finally start coming across with some of these, Mike. And, I've even been seeing like big stocks like Amazon moving down in big ways. Like, look at them over the past few weeks. Of course, they were up yesterday, but man, they're starting to even pull back pretty largely.
Yeah, true that. I hope earnings can be that catalyst that brings in the momentum back. Like kind of like what you said, like a lot of these stocks are at good levels, but that doesn't mean that they just like magically return back up, But I feel like earnings historically has been a pretty good catalyst for like momentum, whether it's to the upside or the downside. And as we've said a couple times this week, we are heading into earnings season right now. Like this week was kind of the beginning. It always starts off with the big banks.
Yeah, it does, and that was big to see some of these banks moving down too, like poor Wells Fargo, JP Morgan's down, but it was nice to see stocks like Wells, or I should say like Goldman Sachs to go up, but they are starting to turn back over here, Mike, so who knows, maybe Goldman will end up in the red, but like we said, earnings were mixed so far here, and I'm curious to see what happens because, TSM reported they're in that chip sector. They initially did very well and then started selling right back off. They're almost back down to that $100 support now. So I'm just really curious to see how this earnings season goes, and I can't wait to see what's on the table for next week. Make sure you guys check that out in Sunday's video because we'll definitely be going over a lot of them. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait for the earnings, Mike, and hopefully Tesla goes well next week because that's going to be one that's definitely on my watch list. They'll be reporting on Wednesday, so that'll be a really big one, obviously. And as we know, Mike, like I think whenever the first week that Tesla reports, hang on, let me double check. I believe Apple is usually there, but no, it looks like Apple will be the week after.
Gotcha. Yeah, still though, they're all like clustered around the same time, So
yeah, all these big tech stocks, they always have like it's like 2 weeks of tech or something like that, we could call it. But
Yeah.
it's definitely big. And like it looks like Apple and Microsoft report within 1 day of each other or 2 days, so that's going to be huge. And man, the next couple of weeks are going to be crucial, I think, to help the market go back up. So hopefully these companies report good numbers. And like Mike, with these tech stocks, I know one of the big driving factors lately has been those chip delays and all of the production issues going on. So I'm curious to see if the semiconductor industry can maybe report that maybe the slowdown is getting better. I know right now, like a lot of companies are still having a lot of issues getting chips. So I hope that maybe they report chips coming in faster and stuff. That'll obviously, I think, help out even more sectors than just like Microsoft and Apple. Like even Ford and GM have been getting hit from that.
True. True. All right. Tom, what stocks are you watching today? I know we already covered a lot of them. We've been through a couple different like airline stocks and stuff like that. But what are some of your favorite setups?
Yeah, of course, the airlines and everything are awesome. And I'm not gonna look at stocks to the upside today, Mike. I'm actually gonna have to maybe look at some stocks to the downside. So some of my favorite setups today are actually some of these chip stocks to the downside, like AMD, Nvidia, stocks like that. This might be a bit of an unpopular opinion, Mike, but as we know, these chip stocks have been going down a lot lately. Looks like they started to consolidate the past couple days and maybe start to go back up. What I don't like is that AMD is just failing to break out. Like it got close to that $100 resistance again, got rejected again this morning, and now we're selling off in a big way. Like this sell-off today, Mike, like on the 1-minute chart is pretty drastic to the downside. It could always return, in the middle of the day or something, but I'm really going to be eyeing up AMD to the downside. Ever since we broke that big $100 support, I really feel like AMD might continue a little bit lower here. So I'm going to keep it on the radar. Maybe if it breaks below like this $96 support, I'll go ahead and eye it up. 96 has been pretty big actually the past few days, but I feel like, Mike, with all these stocks flying down, I feel like it might just be a better way to play something to the downside today, or maybe even for the next few days.
Yeah, that's true. Like, if the market's tanking, there's no point in trying to, like, play bullish day trades. You know what I mean? So, yeah, definitely a smart point. I know you brought up AMD. How's, like, Intel doing?
Yeah, Intel is doing a little bit. It was doing a little bit better this morning, like earlier on. It wasn't necessarily selling off as much, but now we got this second leg to the downside here. It looks like it is following AMD along. We're right back down to that 46 support. So looks like Intel is actually selling off in a big way here this morning. And I looked on the news really quick on Thinkorswim. It looks like they had a press release today where they declared their quarterly cash dividend. So that's going to be important to look at here with their movement down, because that could always affect it slightly, especially on like a slower moving company. But yeah, they're definitely moving down today in a big way. And sometimes we see Intel go up on days where AMD goes down, but today they're definitely moving in sympathy.
Yep, true that. All right, and I'm just going to look through a couple of these major indices to see if we could find any important movers. Looks like some of the oil plays are holding up in a fine way. Healthcare is doing pretty good. How are these defense stocks doing? I can see Raytheon is up a little bit.
Ooh, let's see, Raytheon, RTX. Wow, they're actually looking pretty good today. I will say I like the setup out of RTX. That 104 resistance is being broken right now, and the stock's starting to fly up. So looks pretty good here out of RTX. I will say, though, the other ones, like General Dynamic looks pretty good. But I know I was looking at Lockheed, and they were kind of back in the red, although they were popping up in pre-market. I will say, though, these stocks are usually pretty slow, so, they're only up 0.39%, but they could get maybe like a second leg up here in General Dynamics case, maybe like later in the day. But it's definitely big to keep these defense stocks on the radar, Mike, because they're kind of approaching those highs again. And who knows, if something with Russia happens, I could see these stocks still popping off. And, like if we go look at Lockheed, it's like almost double topping up there around 480. And, in Raytheon's case, they're actually making a new high. So these stocks are definitely starting to run back up here.
Yeah, and Raytheon has earnings pretty soon, too.
Oh, yeah. Look at this next week. Let's see, on April 26th. So that's going to be the same week, it looks like, that Apple and Microsoft report. So that'll definitely be a big one there. And who knows, maybe they'll report some good numbers with all the news going on, Mike, because, we've been sending a lot of equipment and stuff like that to Ukraine, and Biden's been authorizing these billion-dollar packages and stuff like that. So hopefully it helps some of these companies out.
Yep. All right, and then let's just do another check-in with Twitter. The stock has been going crazy today. So as we all know, it boomed up in pre-market, but ever since pre-market, it has actually been selling off in a pretty significant way.
Yeah, it has. And, while the initial thought of Elon buying Twitter is awesome, initially that you would think, wow, Twitter's probably going to explode. We need to get into this. Elon's buying it. He's going to make it great. But keep in mind, like we talked about earlier in the stream, they might reject the offer, and then they might try to do something to stop him from doing a hostile takeover. And, there's a whole bunch of hypotheticals that can happen with this one. But it's just important to keep that in mind, Mike, because, like we said earlier, the deal might not end up going through. And obviously, this could cause some like really big, I don't know, like what you would call like they're both going to really dislike each other. Like, obviously, Elon and Twitter's CEO are probably going to start getting into some pretty heated conversations and stuff like that. So I just can't wait to see what happens with the news, because, man, I hope he's able to get the deal. But if he doesn't, I mean, I expect this thing to start getting crazy. Like, honestly, like Mike, this is such a crazy scenario. I can't believe we're even talking about it. But, if Elon does end up buying this, I think it'll go up. But like we said, there's so many things like that Twitter could do to maybe try to stop him or just cause a bunch of problems in the short term.
Yeah, like the only way personally, like I see heated conversations is if like Elon went through the route of a hostile takeover. My personal opinion is with Twitter is that the board of Twitter are on one of two extremes. Either they're like, let's go, we're getting bought out for $54.20 by Elon Musk. This is a pretty nice premium to what the stock was trading at just a month ago. I'm going to take my buyout money and have a good life and find a different job probably. Or they're on the other end where they're like, no, we are never selling Twitter to Elon. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. That's how I feel about it. I just feel like with Twitter of all companies, it's just like it's one of two extremes.
Yeah, I could see that. The thing I'm really worried about is Twitter's CEO maybe coming out and starting to hit Elon Musk maybe for some stuff. Like, he might come out and say something like, you reported wrong, you did this wrong, you've caused all this volatility, all this stuff like that. If he does something like that, then I don't know, like maybe Elon will start tweeting about it or something. And I know recently, Mike, like Elon was making a bunch of tweets about Twitter itself after he bought the shares. And I remember he actually deleted a lot of those tweets. So it was kind of interesting to see him delete those. I wonder if he deleted those, I wonder if maybe the board asked him to do that or something, because I don't know like why he would have deleted them, but it was definitely interesting. Maybe something with the SEC too. I just have no idea.
Yeah, we'll see. On a different note, for some reason, Tom, these like betting stocks are starting to pop off. So check out DraftKings and then Penn. Out of nowhere, they're both moving to the upside in a pretty quick way. So I'm not seeing any specific industry news.
Yeah, Penn's going crazy here. This is a pretty good move out of Penn, Mike. I will say Penn's been consolidating for almost like 5 days in a row. Definitely doesn't look bad. Like you said earlier this morning, some of those hotel stocks were doing pretty well, like Hilton, or I should say Hyatt, for example. Is Hilton HIL? Oh no, that's Hill. But
no, it's
Hyatt.
HLT.
What is it, Mike?
HLT.
Oh, okay, HLT. That's what it is. Yeah, you can see how well they're doing today, up 2.2%. Same thing like I said with Hyatt, they're doing very, very well. I wonder if that might be bleeding over into some of these casino stocks, like Penn Gaming or like MGM, because I know like by me, Mike, like Penn Gaming owns a few of the casinos around me, and I know that they obviously are always booked up and stuff like that. And of course, MGM is huge in Las Vegas. So maybe this will be pretty good, like just going up with these hotel stocks here.
Yeah. But yeah, like seriously though, check out like MGM, CZR, Penn, and DraftKings. Like they actually are all kind of popping up right now like all at the same time. You know what I mean? Like normally when this happens, there's some sort of news or something to go along with it. So I don't know. Maybe we'll find some news later, but I'm not seeing anything right now.
Yeah, we might be seeing some movement before something actually happens. As we know, sometimes there's some slight insider information and stuff like that. And who knows, if somebody maybe knows that like a sports betting bill is going to come out, or maybe like a state is going to announce they're trying to legalize it, or who knows. But either way, they're definitely starting to move back up here. So I'm glad to see that. And I hope it keeps happening because, obviously like DraftKings has done well, but it hasn't been doing well, but you look at something like Penn, and even they are starting to make new lows, Mike. They're starting to get pretty low here. And, you look at a stock like MGM, and it's been exploding the past year or two. So it's kind of crazy to see some of these stocks have such stark differences with each other. But of course, obviously, every company's different, and MGM does more with Vegas and stuff than some of the others. So I'm sure that's part of the reason, but it's just crazy to see them all moving in different ways like this. Penn kind of seems more like a DraftKings here.
Yeah, I know what you mean. All right, and yeah, Tom, I keep doing like a scan to see some of the breakout stocks from today, and just like the same thing keeps popping up. It's Delta Airlines, and CCL.
Yeah, that's so funny. They're still going up 4%. It actually looks like, Mike, they just started turning over maybe over the past like 2 minutes or so. So who knows? Maybe we'll see these stocks start to fall back down at least a little bit intraday. But you're right. They're still popping up here. CCL's flying. I just saw RCL was still up there. I will say, though, they are starting to turn over a little bit. So like I said, the past couple minutes, it seems like all these reopening plays are starting to pull back. So keep that in mind. But yeah, they're definitely having great days today, along with other stocks like X. Some of these commodity plays are still going off. I wonder how gold's doing, actually. And, poor GLD's actually pulling back here.
Interesting. All right. Tom, it's hard to find stocks to talk about because we covered like all of the important movers from today. Of course, we can talk about Twitter and Tesla a little bit more, but we kind of covered everything with that. Are you seeing anything else?
Yeah, I'm kind of eyeing up here like Ford, General Motors, stocks like that. I actually have a question for you, Mike. So it's your birthday after all. What stock would you like to see go up today? Out of everything in the market, like what stock would you hope goes up like 5% today? Is it DraftKings? Is it Twitter? Is it Zoom? Which one's your favorite?
Tom, you already know the answer to that one. You didn't even have to ask it. You know it. DraftKings.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Good old DraftKings, baby.
Yeah, exactly. That poor stock's been struggling quite a bit over the past couple months. But yeah, they do have earnings coming up, so I'm hoping that is good. Their last report was pretty good, in my opinion, at least. I know that I made a video right when their earnings were reported, but I guess it's just kind of stagnating right now, as a lot of stocks are. The good news is that it appears that the bleeding has stopped. For example, if you look at its like month-over-month returns, over the past couple of months, it has been negative, as basically all stocks have been, or a lot of them have been, specifically growth stocks. But at least now, the price is just stagnating instead of falling. I'm eagerly waiting for that uptrend.
Yeah, me too. It's been a long time coming, and man, I hope it gives you a good birthday present today. Hopefully we end up back in the green here. Like we said, DraftKings was trying to pop back up over the past few minutes, but now it's just been kind of volatile and kind of falling down all over the place. Kind of like yesterday it opened. It was kind of like a heartbeat monitor on the 1 minute chart here. Who knows? Maybe we'll see more up and down movement like that, but I hope it ends up in the green for you today, Mike. That way you can have a nice birthday dinner tonight and not have to worry about anything with the market for tomorrow. But that'll definitely be a nice thing if we see a nice pop there. And like everything here, these poor growth plays are just continuing to stay lower here. And like you said, we just need a nice catalyst to maybe push ourselves up. And we're seeing a lot of these betting stocks move up today. Maybe we'll see a catalyst soon, but hopefully it comes sooner rather than later. But man, these hotel stocks are still doing great. Like Hyatt, they're still doing well. Hilton's still staying up pretty well. Oh, it's HLT, that's right. Hilton's still doing decent, but Yeah, I mean, it seems like so far today, Mike, there's not too many stocks running. Like you said, only a few sectors are, and it's mostly these like reopening type plays. Like you did say though, some of the oil plays were moving, which I know oil's been a pretty big talk of, obviously with Russia and everything lately, but even with like the U.S., obviously gas prices and everything like that have been huge over the past few months.
Very true. Well, before we close out of today's stream, I want to say thank you guys so much for all the very kind birthday wishes. It means a lot. So thank you guys so much for all of the support. And of course, I want to give a shout out to everyone who joined today. So shout out George, Jerry, Sean, Alex, the other Sean, Hunter, let's see, Raymond, Vicky, Mike, Mink, and Couch Potato. So thank you guys so much for joining. Don't forget that the market is closed tomorrow. And besides that, let's have a great end to the week.